Okay, so we're still on the topic of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's visit to the Caribbean. And in a previous video, I spoke about his visit to Jamaica and that I was pleased with the tone of Marco Rubio in Jamaica. It didn't come across the same way we saw what happened with the president of Ukraine visit to America with Donald Trump. We saw the chaos that happened. The tone in the Caribbean that I've seen is very diplomatic and respectful. And I would say the same thing in Guyana. The same thing played out. And what I am very pleased about is that the local media, they had the opportunity to ask some questions. And I'm happy that I don't know if the questions were screened before they asked the questions, but they were able to ask relevant questions that people in the Caribbean wanted to know answer to. So we're going to look at Guyana and we're going to look at what the questions that some of the local media, they were able to ask. So the first question was about the protection of Guyana with the conflict that is going on between Guyana and Venezuela. And this was what Marco Rubio had to say about that. Let's take a look.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Marcel Thomas from the Starbuck News. You just spoke of consequences for aggressive actions and that the U.S. is Guyana's partner. Given Venezuela's unprovoked aggression towards Guyana, I want to know if your country would stand by Guyana militarily if Venezuela were to attack this country, and what would be the U.S.'s response should Venezuela attack U.S. oil major ExxonMobil, which is operating in Guyana's waters?
It would be a very bad day for the Venezuelan regime if they were to attack Guyana or attack ExxonMobil or anything like it. It would be a very bad day, a very bad week for them, and it would not end well for them. I'm not going to get into details of what we'll do. We're not big on those kinds of threats. I think everybody understands, and I want it to be clear. We've made this clear repeatedly. I think the U.S. Navy today is making it clear and demonstrating our ability to. We have a big Navy, and it can get almost anywhere. It can get anywhere in the world. We have commitments that exist today with Guyana. We want to build on those, expand on those, and we'll leave it for the appropriate time. But suffice it to say that if that regime were to do something such as that, it would be a very bad move. It would be a big mistake for them.
Okay, so that was the answer from Marco Rubio. And as I said, very diplomatic, not what you expect from the Trump administration, nothing too bombastic, I would say. And I hope it never gets to that because, as I said, Venezuela is a friend of the Caribbean. Venezuela, the relationship between Venezuela, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Cuba, we have always had a good relationship. So I hope in terms of geopolitics, like things can work out where Venezuela goes back to what Venezuela was 20, 30 years ago when we benefited from a lot of the resources of Venezuela in the Caribbean. So I hope it never gets to that situation where there's a conflict. So another thing that was very concerning to people in the Caribbean was the Trump administration putting out information of their intent to tariff ships coming from China into the region. And in the Caribbean, we depend on China a lot. Like most of what we have in the Caribbean is made in China. So the tariff, a 25% tariff on Chinese ship coming into the region would be very devastated to the Caribbean economy because a lot of the stuff that we can afford in the Caribbean comes from China. Some of the qualities might not be great, but it's about affordability, and this would pretty much devastate, like especially the poorer class people in the Caribbean. So that is a question that people really wanted to get some answers on. And as I said, I'm pleased with the local journalists that they asked good questions. And this was what Marco Rubio and the president of Guyana, President Ali, had to say about that, the tariff on ships coming from China. Let's take a look.
Campbell Newsroom. President Ali, you've already spoken about how President Trump's tariff plans for China ships could affect regional trade. I just wanted to know if in your trade talks today, if that issue was specifically discussed
Yes.
for Secretary of State Rubio.
Yeah, I can tell you. Oh, you were
What
asking him. I'm sorry.
It's for both of you. What assurances can you give Guyana and this hemisphere in terms of stemming indirect consequences?
Yes. Well, look, the goal the president has in doing so is we need to have an ability to build ships in this world that don't just come from China. Okay, I think it's just dangerous to have one country in the world building all the ships. I assure you that, and we don't want a war, but I mean, they're not going to build ships for us if we get in trouble, right? So we need to have alternatives to Chinese shipping. We're trying to create a market and a demand for alternatives to Chinese shipping construction. And I'm the first one to admit that the United States made a terrible mistake when we deindustrialized and we allowed all these industries to leave our country and go to other places. Now we're paying the consequences, but we have to fix it. So I do believe, I can't speak, the trade portfolio does not belong to the Department of State, but I do believe that we will take this back because we've heard this not just here, Mr. President, we've heard it throughout our visits here in the Caribbean, and we're going to take it back and explain to those who are in charge of trade policy that there are some implications to applying it to certain nations who are partners and who are seeking to develop their economies in ways that I think serve the national interest of the United States, not to mention the national interest of our partner nations, and see what can happen. So I can't make a commitment to those exemptions because that's not something we handle at the Department of State. What I can commit to is that I will most certainly raise this issue as a recurring issue in multiple places, that it would have a real, detrimental effect on economic development. Maybe in 10 years it won't be an issue because there's been some diversification, maybe in 5. But right now it would be problematic. That message I'll take back to Washington and to my colleagues that are handling the trade portfolio, and we'll see how the president decides to proceed. But rest assured, we will take that message back.
Yeah, just to echo the sentiments that, yes, we did discuss it, and the region would have raised it also. But the Secretary Rubio, as he said, would take this back and to see whether there can be any special initiative for the region, given our specific circumstances. But let me say also that we have a responsibility to our friends. The U.S. is a great friend of ours. The U.S. would have made it very clear that they're ready to stand by us in our development, in our economic expansion, in our security, and in our defense. And I would say very boldly that such friends must have some different and preferential treatment, because a friend who will defend me when I need a friend to defend me must be a friend that enjoys some special place in our heart and in our country, and that will be the case. Thank you.
Okay, so that was a response from President Ali and from Marco Rubio, U.S. Secretary of State. And let me know in the comment section if you are pleased with those answers from the President of Guyana, President Ali, and if you are satisfied with Marco Rubio, how he presented himself in Guyana. Are you satisfied? As if you're in Guyana now and you sat and you watched what was going on, are you comfortable with this relationship between the U.S. government and Guyana in terms of everything that is going on with the Exxon deal and with the president, with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, vowed that, look, the president and this administration is there to protect Guyana at all costs. So sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this. And the President Ali, sums up this meeting between him and Marco Rubio and the relationship between America and Guyana. And this is what he had to say. Here at Carib 21, I'm on a mission to showcase the vibrant culture and the breathtaking beauty of the Caribbean while showcasing our culture and what is trending. If you want to support me on this mission, please subscribe. And if you also want to support, you can hit the comment section and buy me a cup of coffee. In order to buy me a cup of coffee, you can follow these instructions. Just click more. You will see the link to buy me a cup of coffee. Click the link. You can purchase 1 or 2 cups of coffee and you'll be helping me to fulfill this mission. Thank you.
Personal commitment to the national rule of law, democracy, and security. Guyana and the United States share a long bond of friendship and partnership. Indeed, the best of partnership are those built on shared values, mutual trust, and a commitment to the rule of law and international order. This is what underpins our bilateral relationship and friendship. The United States is our trusted partner as we continue to build a stable, secure, and democratic society here. This visit has allowed us to consolidate our bilateral agenda, defining policies and outlining clear intentions in areas of security, trade, energy, investments, infrastructure, democracy, regional peace and stability, human capital deployment and development. I am very pleased at the reassurance of the U.S. in ensuring the safeguard of our territorial integrity and sovereignty. Our partnership and joint commitment to the safeguard of this region from every disruptive force is key to the maintenance of democracy and adherence to the rule of law. The threats from Venezuela were specifically discussed. Their blatant violation of the ICJ order and Argyle Declaration were noted. Our joint commitment in enhanced partnership in combating transnational crime, inclusive of narco-trafficking, human trafficking, money laundering, and all forms of smuggling, is reflected in the enhanced MOU signed today. We have reassured our partner that we will continue to ensure all international and local labor laws are adhered to in the hiring of regional and international labor. Further, with our expanding healthcare system and critical shortage of human capital, we will explore areas of collaboration in filling existing gaps. We were able to identify key infrastructure that are also critical to regional development as possible areas for investment and development. We have committed to working closely together on the deployment of our energy potential, ensuring greater integration, value creation, and regional energy security, food security, and enhanced trade through joint initiatives to remove hurdles and expand existing areas of interest is key for both countries. I'm confident that the outcome of this visit has further aligned our policy agendas, shared commitment, and partnership that will see enormous benefits for our two countries and the region. Let me once again thank Secretary Rubio for his personal commitment and that of the U.S. government to Guyana and this region in general. I thank you.